Do you have a DonorsChoose.org project that needs funding? Today's sponsor is Advancement Courses, and they are donating 10% of their sales until September 28th to DonorsChoose.org projects. And if you're needing professional development for yourself, you get 20% off their 200-plus online PD courses using the special code just for 10-Minute Teacher listeners. So stay tuned at the end of the show. Creative Writing in 5th Grade. This is episode 343. The 10-Minute Teacher Podcast with Vicki Davis. Every weekday, you'll learn powerful, practical ways to be a more remarkable teacher today. Today, we're talking with Faith Maria Brody. She is a grade 5 language arts teacher in New Jersey. We're experiencing a wonderful Classroom Wednesday as we talk about creative writing. So, Faith, do you have kind of a philosophy that you use to teach creative writing?
Yes, writing is mandatory in itself. And I find that so many students don't enjoy writing. And if I tell them we're going to do a writing assignment, they hem and they haw. So I kind of try to believe that if writing can be made fun, or if I can find one little thing that the students enjoy about it, that they'll enjoy any writing assignment, whether it's a fun creative project or something that they are required to do, like an essay.
Okay, so what's a way that you make creative writing fun?
One of the things I love doing is big group activities as a class, like silly writing. We do one game once a week called Vocab Soup. That's really fun. We'll use our current vocabulary words and we'll break out into small groups, and the students will have to make a story out of the current words they're using. And sometimes I'll give them different genres. I'll say this week has to be a mystery, or this week it's a Western story. But a lot of times I just let them work on it as a fiction.
Vocab Soup, do they read the final result to each other?
They do. They'll each read the section that they wrote out loud.
Oh, that sounds like so much fun. And, vocabulary can be a grown type thing if you're not careful. So you've got Vocab Soup. That's an awesome idea. Do you have any other ideas that you make creative writing more exciting?
Yeah, so I'll do a lot of themed things too. One project that my classes have been enjoying each year is we've been working on like a scary story around Halloween, but I've been teaching them all the different literary techniques so that they're writing a story and the writing process, teaching them that as well for this project. And I give them a lot of graphic organizers and tell them that they have to use certain elements like sounds and onomatopoeia, and they're learning all these different things about literacy while writing the story, and they don't kind of realize that they're doing that because they're having so much fun creating this fun, spooky story. We really love that.
So, Faith, I think that that's a fantastic idea to tie in creative writing to the themes. But now your kids are getting a little older. They're in 5th grade. Do you find that the themed writing still has attractiveness to the kids?
Yes, they really enjoy expressing themselves on paper. Any opportunity they have to talk about themselves is something that they enjoy. In the middle of the year, we were working on persuasive writing, so I tried to tie that into things that they were passionate about and that was age appropriate for them. So we worked on doing some mini debates, things like around here we have a Wawa, which is like a convenience store, and we also have Dunkin' Donuts, the national chain. So it's like, which one is better, Dunkin' Donuts or Wawa? And they would do these debates, come up with all the reasons which store was better. And then we worked on a larger persuasive piece, and it was dogs versus cats. And they're just so, interested in these things, and they love to, express their own opinions, even if it's something, small like that. They get really into it.
Well, and you've selected some things that kids do have an opinion on. I mean, dogs versus cats, or one convenience store versus another. These are things that they're intimately familiar with, so they can better compare and contrast. But, sometimes I've seen persuasive essays that were things that the kids didn't really deeply know both topics. So is that kind of your strategy here?
Yeah. So sometimes I'll switch it and have it turn around, and I'll make them write about the other point of view. So I'll say, like, let's think about why we might need to wear uniforms to school. Because most of the kids in the class are going to say they don't want to wear uniforms. So let's think of reasons like why we should have to. And let's turn it around and think from the other side. And they have a lot of fun with that, too, because they'll have to really dig deeper into their brains and think of, why are these good ideas? Or why should we have to limit screen time? They're so, addicted to their technology these days. They might not want to do that, but they have to think from the other side. And they like having to do that.
Yeah, so you have 3 great ideas so far. We have Vocabulary Soup. We have having the scary story or some themed type approaches. We also have persuasive techniques in mini debates using topics that the kids are already familiar with. See, these are 3 very powerful ways to provoke and encourage creative writing. Okay, what else do you do?
So another thing I like to do is I like to model examples from books that are popular that they may have read or maybe haven't read. And I do book talks every Friday in my classroom, and they know it's coming. If I have to miss a book talk, they'll make me make it up because they get so excited about them. I will read a small part of the book, usually the first chapter, to the students in hopes that they'll want to continue reading the entire book. And a lot of times I'll talk about what the author is doing in terms of writing to get the kids interested in the book. I might say, this author, look at the opening of this book, see how we're sucked in. What is the author doing to get us sucked in? Or with a book like Wonder, how it's written from multiple perspectives, we might talk about that. How is the author able to get into different characters' heads and make each character sound different? So we'll talk about those devices while at the same time I'm exposing them to a new book that hopefully they will want to read.
So this is a lot like the teaser or the book trailers that some people do with the videos and the QR codes. You're just trying to give them a little bit of a taste, except you're reading and actually discussing literary devices. Is that what you're doing?
Yeah. So I have several goals. So the goals are to want them to read the book, but also to understand from the writer's perspective what the writer is doing to make the book interesting.
Fun. So what are the books that they're most likely to read after you do your book talks?
They're really into the I Survived series. They love those. They like, asking questions. They're really curious, like how the author researched these events and put these historical facts into the books. They love that series. They do like Wander a lot. They loved a book that I have called Lucky Broken Girl that came out last year. That was about a girl growing up in New York City. They loved that book. They loved Misty Copeland's autobiography memoir. They were really into that and hearing about her struggles and overcoming those and becoming a dancer. Pretty much, I haven't had anyone not like a book. I think when you're presenting it the right way and giving it that excitement and the background to the story and sharing how the author wrote it, it just makes it so much more interesting than just saying, here's a book, you should read it.
Yes. So, passion and curiosity is contagious. And so when you as the teacher are excited, then the kids tend to catch it. Okay, what's our 5th?
Another thing that we like to do in class is we will write some poems during the year to help us learn about theme. And we'll read poems, too, for that reason, because theme is a skill that is really tremendously difficult for students at the 5th grade level, but it's talked about a lot in everything that we do. And it's tested them in their test. It's always coming up. What is the theme? What is the theme? What is the theme? So I thought poetry was a good way to teach theme because most poems are based off of a theme. And they were able to learn to identify it, and then they could write their own poems. And one of the things we did from that was we made something called found poems, which they loved. And we had old magazines, and we cut out different words and things from the magazines, and they've made like a visual art that was also a poem, and they just had a blast with that.
Okay, so what are some of the themes, or can you give us an example of something that turned out really well with this particular project?
Sure. So there's common themes that always come up in literature, and some of them are like, never give up, always persist, don't judge a book by its cover. Those are common themes that we see in a lot of stories, especially ones for the 5th grade level, and kids are able to identify those in stories and poems that they've read, and then they're able to apply them into their own poems that they've made.
So fun. So we've gotten quite a few ideas. So let me ask you this, Faith. You've been teaching for how many years now?
I just finished my 7th.
7th. Okay, so if you could travel back in time to Faith on the very first day, first week of teaching when you were beginning, what would you say to new teacher Faith?
Oh my gosh, I remember that day. I'd say don't be afraid of the students at all because they all have so much potential. And, I was teaching older kids at the time too, but they have so much potential and they just want to learn and they just want to have a good experience at school. And so just try to find a way to teach them that will keep them engaged and keep them wanting to come back to school.
Did you ever make a really massive mistake when teaching creative writing, Faith? What would it be?
I know that I focused a little bit last year on poetry a little too much because my supervisors actually told me that, but it was only because the students were so into it and they loved it so much. So this year I had to shorten the time that I spent working on it.
Yeah. Did that disappoint you a little bit?
A little bit, but I knew, there was other things I had to work on.
Oh, it's such a balancing act. It's so hard, isn't it? Okay, so teachers, we've gotten 5 fantastic, really, we've gotten more than 5 ideas about how to really make creative writing be exciting to kids. And I am so grateful for those teachers who had me keep a journal and let me write about things. And if it was private, I could fold the page over as long as they could see just some of the writing. They were okay with that. And then just encouraging us to write not only nonfiction, but also fiction, because I still have a lot of that writing that I did, particularly in high school. My writing is such a part of my own life. And it really started with the elementary teachers who just lit things up like Faith is doing with her kids. So remember that writing can be fun. It can be life-changing. And it is something that we want to do in our classrooms and do it well. From now until September 28th, Advancement Courses, an online provider of professional development for K-12 teachers, is donating 10% of their sales to funding DonorsChoose.org projects. Go to advancementcourses.com/give to submit your project today. And if you're in need of professional development, the 10-Minute Teacher listeners like you can get 20% off any online courses with the code COOL20. That's COOL 20. With this coupon, a 3 grad credit course for continuing education, salary advancement, or recertification is only $359. So go to advancementcourses.com/coolcat to learn more and make sure you use that coupon code COOL20. Never stop learning. Thank you for listening to the 10-Minute Teacher Podcast. You can download the show notes and see the archive at coolcatteacher.com/podcast. Never stop learning.